before you the 2022 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic Managing and Inspiring Multi-Generational Workforce. Great Manager Institute conducts a Great People Manager survey in India and have come up with a list of top 100 managers. And the recognition is powered by Forbes India and Great Manager Institute, where we are fortunate to have three managers from the esteemed list who would be sharing their success stories, mantras, hits and misses, and achievements over leading their team in current times. To know more about HR Association of India Great Manager Institute, I would request all our participants to visit the link posted in the chat window. Request all participants to kindly follow the webinar guideline mentioned in the chat window. It's my privilege to introduce Amit Sahu, VP and Global Head HR at Areteens. I would also like to congratulate him over this achievement. Amit is the Vice President of HR and currently heads the Global HR of Areteens. He has 18 plus years of progressive experience in talent acquisition, talent management, total rewards, HR business partnering, change management and OD, employee engagement, employee branding, diversity and inclusion. Being an inclusive leader is part of his DNA and the overall strategy that he promotes. This for him includes diversity in the teams, improve the capacity to innovate and deal with ambiguity. These traits allow him to engage much more effectively with a wide range of culturally, demographically, and attitudinally diverse stakeholders. He is a CSR and diversity and inclusion champion. He wears many hats and is an ideator, speaker, trainer, coach, mentor, and thought leader. He is a vivid reader and loves spending time with his family, teaching HR topics at MBA colleges and speaking at various HR forums. You can follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Once again, congratulations, Amit, and we are extremely excited to have you here. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Faisal, and very good afternoon to everyone. That was such a warm introduction, Faisal. Um, so, team, you might be wondering, just 18 years of experience, and this guy has done so many things. I think anyone can do it. It's a matter of pulling the right strings. It's a matter of keeping that right attitude, of learning more, doing more for the organizations, and by doing and everything, you will realize that you have learned so much, and there is still so much to learn. Okay, so great, Faisal. Without wasting any time, we'll quickly go to the today's topic, team, and I'm gonna share my screen. Please let me know if it is visible. Is my screen visible
Yes,
now?
yes, it's visible now.
Okay, superb. So little bit of animation that my team has done while they were preparing the slides. Yeah. So some questions, while the context over here is a conversation between a dad and a son, but these are very common question that keeps on coming, right? I have two kids. My daughter is she is 14 years old, and my son is going to be 13 this February. And most of the time they ask this kind of questions also, which makes it more and more amusing to understand the generational gaps. So as you can see, one of the questions that we often come across is when you are much older, younger than your team, how difficult it is for you to manage across generation. When I started my career in 2004, I was quite lucky to start in GE, General Electric. So those days it was called GE Capital. So I started my career in the BPO industry. And what I figured out is in BPO, typically a BPO industry at that point of time, is to hire people who were very good in their communication skills, irrespective of their age, qualification, and so on. So I have seen people working with me I'm talking about 2004 November during my training, who were pretty senior to me, like double the age of mine, and people who were also junior to me because I joined after completing my MBA. But there were people who had completed their intermediate and all, and they were working because they used to speak such good English, right? So luckily, the exposure to this across generation happened very quickly in my career. And during this complete presentation, I'm going to share a lot of anecdotes, a lot of examples, a lot of stories from my own, and which may help you, to inspire and manage the multi-generational workforce that we have today. So one of this example is if I and I have seen this, which happens pretty much. People who are much younger today, they prefer email or messaging and everything instead of a quick callback. Callback could be there, but they might be doing multitasking in multiple things, right? So I am sharing an example. This happened, 2000, somewhere around 2015, 16. We were exchanging a lot of emails while the solution could have just happened if I had just picked up the phone and called the person saying that, okay, this is the problem or this is the solution. I need some help, support, and so and so. My boss actually called me and said, why you both are playing email? Just call to the person and say that these are the things. It will be quick. With the 5 minutes of call, the 20 minutes of email can reduce. And just use the email for documentation. I was like, okay, great tip. And going ahead, I started doing that. I always started using email as a medium to document things, but prefer voice-to-voice conversation or face-to-face conversation, whatever it is, to resolve problems. So how does it matter? I didn't understand your preference for phone calls where the same information could be communicated via text. Yes, you are partially right, but the work can be closed quickly over a call instead of keeping on writing back and forth emails. Right? A lot of us, we go through this, either consciously or unconsciously, it happens because we are so used to emails. Then you could have called in the first instance instead of sending a voicemail. How can you direct reports, anticipate your preferred way unless it is clearly communicated? So one challenge which I have always seen, team, is that it's more to do around communication. If communication, there is no free flowing of communication, ideas and other things, it always faces hurdles and it moves into different types of conflicts. So setting the right expectation is also very important. So I will share one more thing. Whenever I join a new organization and my team is there, I actually set them up for success. So there are a couple of things that I share with them. One of those things is my voice is very loud. And I tell them that if you hear my voice as loud, either on virtual or on a face-to-face, wherever in office, don't think that I'm angry. My voice is actually a little louder. So that kind of expectation I have done so that, people, they understand me and the day-to-day regular activities keeps on moving. This is one thing, and I'll share more as well. So they should know that it is very basic. Should I really need to communicate these trivial things as well? Every trivial thing should be communicated, is what I think. Your style, the way you work, the expectations that you have, you should clearly communicate it to your team, irrespective of their age. That's most important thing. So the sad truth is that age gaps between managers and their team members can actually hinder mutual respect. When one fundamentally can't relate to someone due to generational gaps, then often resort to using harmful stereotypes and blame solvable problems on each other instead of working to understand and value the differences that distance both. So this is again I have seen it. It happens when there are, it could be you, it could be your manager, it could be your boss, it could be the CEO, his team, and so on. There is a generation gap, and we have to admit that yes, there is a generation gap. And if we are not able to mitigate that gap in terms of communication and all those other tools that I'm going to share, it will always end up with a lot of differences and will create more and more distance between the leader and their team. So today's topic is managing and inspiring a multi-generational workforce team. Quickly, multi-generations at workplaces. I'm sure you all know this. The traditionalist or the silent generation, born before 1945. Some of them are our grandfathers as well, right? My dad was born around 1950 and he is retired. They were very loyal, but they were equally traditional. And he keeps on telling me, you know, I had one job, but you have changed so many. Then the baby boomers, right? Uh, Collaborative but averse to change. The Gen X, that is 19, they were born between 1965 to 1980. They were independent. Millennials, born between 1981 to 2000, which is most of the people in IT workforce today. The Gen Z, who are born after 2000. They are progressive but disloyal. We will go through each of the characteristics in the forthcoming slides. Now, an interesting thing is, I was actually born in 1980. This model I came to know maybe when during my MBA days. And I used to think whether I am a millennial or a Gen X, because 1980 is like border of both, right? You could be a millennial or it could be a Gen X. So I have always taken the advantage in terms of using both the traits to ensure that I am able to drive things that are required. So each of these generation has lived through a common set of social and historic events that has actually helped shape their unique attitudes, ambition, and worldviews. So do you remember the fads, the trends, popular culture of different generations? Let's quickly go through it. So traditionalists, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, we spoke about it. The formative experiences. Second World War, nuclear families, the baby boomers, Cold War, post-war boom, Gen X, the first PC was introduced, early mobile technology was introduced, the millennials, 9/11 terrorist attack, PlayStation, social media, Google. These are some of the things that were early experiences for them. The Gen Z, economic downturn, global warming, cloud computing, WikiLeaks, and so on. The aspirations, if you look at, for traditionalists was home ownership. The baby boomers, it was job security. It was, for example, my dad was always looking into his job security and all. And those days, if you remember, it was always a government job. The Gen X, they looked into work-life balance. Millennials, in the other hand, they looked into freedom and flexibility. The Gen Z, security and stability. We'll see more about it. So from an attitude towards technology, the traditionalists were largely disengaged. The baby boomers, early information technology adapters. The Gen X, they were digital immigrants. Millennials are digital natives. They were born and they had everything in their hand. Gen Z is completely dependent on technology. Attitude towards career, jobs are for life. Careers are defined by employers. The Gen X, again, where I belong, loyal to profession, but not necessarily to employers. Millennials are digital entrepreneurs. So many startups, so many things. You will see most of the millennials are coming up with great ideas, innovation, and so on. Gen Z, they are going to move seamlessly between organizations. The gig economy, we have been hearing about moonlighting, and so on and so forth. These are the realities of the future of work. So some signature product, automobile, television, personal computer happened in Gen X. Tablet and smartphone came for millennials. And for the Gen Z, it is even beyond that. So some communication media, for the traditionalist, it was always formal letter. For baby movers, that is when the telephone boom happened. So it was telephone. For Gen X, it was email and text message. Millennials, it was text or social media, right? And Gen Z, it is the next level of the IoTs and all. Communication, traditionalists, most of the time they preferred face-to-face communication. Baby movers, face-to-face ideally, but telephone or email only if required. Gen X, text messaging or email. Millennials, online and mobile. Gen Z, again, FaceTime. Preference when making financial decisions, face-to-face meetings. But baby boomers, face-to-face ideally, but increasingly will go online. Gen X, it is always online. Millennials, again, face-to-face, especially when comes to financial decisions. Gen Z, solutions will be digitally crowdsourced. So these are the slides, team, which will forward it to you. So please don't worry about that. No need to take any notes as well. So multi-generational workforce. We see that today in the workforce, we will have the baby boomers, the millennials, and the Gen Z, the Gen X, Gen Z, and all. What becomes more important is trying to understand that we will always get multiple perspectives when so many generation people are working in a single organization. We will have problem solving abilities. They will have awesome problem solving abilities. We will have learning and mentoring opportunities. We'll have a lot of knowledge transfer and retention also, because it passes, the knowledge passes from one generation to another, right? And some unique relationships also happen in a multi-generational workforce. Just quickly look into from an implication and benefits of this multi-generational workforce. Some implications: a lack of awareness of generational differences and effective communication between generations may impact organization with high attrition. Some tangible costs like recruitment, hiring, training, and retention, they increase. Of course, when attrition is high, it increases. Just intangible cost, moral of the people, moral of the team also may go down, and it impacts the overall culture of the organization. We end up getting a lot of grievances and complaints, and there is negative perceptions of fairness and equity, which is very common, which happens if we are not aware of generational differences. But if we are if we are aware of generational differences and we ensure that we have effective communication between all the cohort of different workforce that we have, multiple benefits comes up. More effective communication or fewer misunderstandings, increase recruitment and employee retention, because people will start referring more and more employees because they will say that this is a great place to work. We are an employer of choice. You might have heard in the last 15, 16 years, this term inclusion has become so common. Are we an inclusive workforce? Do we treat everybody equally? Can we create inclusion at workforce? Just not focus on gender diversity, but different kind of diversity. So these all things comes also, these are also facets of the generational, different cohorts of workforce that we have. It also helps in effective motivational methods, better form expectation, increased productivity and teamwork. I'll give more examples as we proceed. So what do we observe? This particular diagram, if you follow any other motivational speaker or your lecturers, your any L&D program, the iceberg example always becomes one of the most effective example to share about emotional intelligence and whatnot. So behavior and practices, what we always see is that 20%. They are multi-generational teams. And again, to add on top of that, we have virtual teams now from the time the pandemic started, right? So what is hidden, which is below the iceberg, is the culture piece: assumptions, attitudes, beliefs, values, expectations, motivation, ideologies, and communication. Can we see all this? No, we can, but it keeps on coming in pieces. Some people can share their assumption, their beliefs or values, but not necessarily every time they will change, and so on. Let's go to the next slide. So some questions to ponder. What is something about each generation that you like? What is something from a different generation you have learned to adapt? What are the stereotypes about your generation do you not believe to be true? How can we see those stereotypes differently? What are the viewpoints and work related values of different generations? How to enhance synergy in multi-generational team? What are the best practices for overcoming management and leadership challenges in multi-generational work environments? So these are some questions that we need to ponder. And in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to share or clarify most of these questions in the forthcoming slides. So these are some things which I'm sure you connect to. Either if you are a HR or a manager, some of these things are there. I have a new rule. I will not attend meetings that go beyond 5 p.m. I have a life and my own priorities. He has no work ethics. He's just lazy. At his age, I was grateful I had a job. I have heard this line so many times from so many senior people. Millennials, they will look into instant gratification. They are very lazy. Do you know at that point of time how serious we were at work? Now, if you have scheduled a meeting for 3 p.m. on a Friday, get a live 3 p.m. on Friday. Most of the Fridays, people they look towards leaving early. She wants to meet with senior managers regularly to get feedback on her performance. She just started. These are some things you might have seen, or somewhere you might be seeing yourself as. If he asks us to write one more vision statement, I am out of here. You send the meeting request by email. I check email once a week. HR just got clearance so we can use LinkedIn at work. I don't have the courage to tell them we have been bouncing Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter off a proxy server for years. So these are very, very common, I wouldn't say it as feedback, but keeps on happening across all organizations. So some of the challenges of multi-generational workforce is the company culture, the communication styles, and negative stereotypes. Let me share a little bit about company culture. I have not worked in any public sector organization, but I have heard it from my friends whom, if you go to do any external certification, the cohort would be people coming from just not IT, but non-IT, from the Navratnas and so on and so forth. I've heard people saying that, Amit, it's like a government job. It's so cool over here, but challenges are not there. Shall I move into IT? I'm like, no, you enjoy over there. Every the type of organization has got its own challenges. Now, don't move from one place to another for getting that comfort. But yes, if that excites you, that is a challenge, then yes, you can move. So company culture also becomes very, very important. If you look into the PSUs and other things, you will have a lot of the baby boomers and Gen X people working over there. From a ratio standpoint, you will always see around 60% to 40% kind of a ratio of the generation. 30 to 35% would be millennials, and the rest all would be the other generation. But in IT, you may see a drastic change. or in the tech companies, let me put it in this way, you'll have close to 70% of the people who would be millennials, and Gen X and baby boomers would be anything between 20 to 30%. And culture is again driven from the top, that you all know. But at the same time, there are many micro culture that happens in the organization. So one culture would be all the millennials would be into one gang, one group. There will be very senior people, they will be again into one group. And you will see the common thing over there. What they will say is, our ideology matches. I'm not able to connect to those young crowd, or I'm only able to share my things with this crowd, and so on. So what we could do over here is, we have to focus into the working relationship and ensure that uh, you know not all. So it has to be a mix and match of people when you are constituting or creating a team. There will be some seniors, there will be some juniors, so that there is free flowing of idea. So we have to create more social events, award ceremonies and so on, regular surveys to take a pulse from employees. So that way we can ensure that we can, start working on creating a great company culture. Communication styles. So be aware of preferred communication styles of each generation. So we have already seen the communication styles where some of the generations, they preferred a call, and the email has to be used only for documentation. I am sharing it again with confidence that yes, call really, really helps. Use emails for documentation. Have a quick call, resolve the things, and you'll see that it will impact your um, productivity. It will increase. So one thing that you should not do over here is use of abbreviations or informal language, because it may cause communication breakdowns. Some negative stereotypes like biasness are always there. For example, that I shared in the beginning, right? Millennials want instant gratification. Do you know how hard I have worked to come to this place? Why there is no seriousness? Or the other way, the millennials, when you look at them, they may share a feedback saying that, he is so stubborn. He doesn't even understand what I'm trying to say. I am not going to stay here. I'm going to leave the organization. This organization only has similar kind of people. They are not creative. They are not open to ideas, and so on. So most importantly, what happens over here is to make a conscious effort to understand others. Now, how you can understand others? So listening is one skill team, which I would suggest most of us should adapt. We listen to respond, right? We don't listen to understand. So listening becomes very, very important. Understand other people, what they are trying to say, why they are trying to say. They have so much of experience. Or when I'm recommending that to Gen X people, they should also give lot of time to understand the new generation at work. So making conscious effort to understand others becomes very, very important. And that is the change management that needs to happen in organizations. So some ways to optimize multi-generational workforce: promote open communication. We can do that by more and more meetings, having town halls, having all hands meet, or a daily status update in team. As much as possible, promote open communication. Boost collaborative work. Collaboration, you might have heard, is very important as we move towards our future. And this has become even more important because of the time the pandemic started. We were not able to meet each other, see each other in person. Everything was virtual. Hence, collaboration becomes a very key thing today to get things done. So you have to boost collaborative work. So what we can do, if there is a team which is being formed for a particular project, ensure that not everyone is of the same time, depending on the kind of project. Have some senior people, have some mid-level people, have some junior people as well. Incorporate employee feedback. So incorporating employee feedback becomes very important. One thing you might have noticed is, especially when it comes to the millennials and all, they're very eager to give feedback, and they give feedback very instantaneously. For example, we have a chatbot called Amber, and in our organization, we have seen about 70 to 75% people they respond to chat, and when we looked into that, most of them were actually millennials. But what about the rest of the people? So what we did is we did leadership connect as well with all the segments in the organization, but we emphasized more on the Gen X and above, because they may not be very open to share feedback online. They prefer a face-to-face kind of a thing. So incorporate employee feedback in every possible form, whichever gives you the feedback and how you can work on that. Expanding learning opportunities. So you might have heard a lot about experiential learning nowadays, right? You learn on the job. Classroom learning is actually 20%, and the remaining 80% you learn on the job. So how we can ensure that we increase this learning opportunities between the workforce? Remember one thing I shared in the beginning about knowledge transfer? So this helps. I'm going to share about it from a reverse mentoring standpoint, where the Gen X can learn a lot from millennials, and millennials can share a lot of learning to the other generation. And the most important thing, Tim, is to embrace flexibility. If we do not embrace flexibility, what will happen? There will be a lot of challenges. For example, you might have heard, or on LinkedIn, you might have seen a lot of posts in terms of return to office, right? Hybrid model or work from home, and so on. There are a lot of research also which is available. So flexibility, honestly, COVID has taught us how to be flexible, because we understood how important life is, and life is short. So let's become more and more flexible, right? Try to understand the other person, and move ahead in our life. So how do we enhance synergy in multi-generational teams? First one is anticipate conflicts. Conflicts will happen. Even in same generation also conflicts will happen. But conflicts happen more also when there are different generations. It happens. You ask any person, and I can bet they will say that I know more than my manager. Right? It could be, so one way there, so conflict management has got multiple, ways of conflict management is there. But I'll say the very simple way. The simple way is keeping yourself grounded, removing the ego, and focusing on the work. You'll see that conflict will reduce to a larger extent. I remember this particular statement which was there when I used to go for feedback near my manager. I'm talking about earlier part of my career. So she had taken a statement. She has taken a print out and placed it in a cubicle, and it was mentioned over there that do not attack the person, but attack the problem. I asked her actually while she was giving my feedback. This is such a nice statement, and why you have kept it over here in your cubicle? Why it is so important? She said, Amit, most of the time we end up doing a conflict because it's very easy. Fighting is very easy, or just showing that you are the bigger person is very easy. But being very harmonious, reducing conflict is the name of the game. So if there is a problem that happens at any point of time, don't shout at the person. Try to understand what the problem is and try to fix the problem rather than fixing the person. I think these were some of the earlier lessons that I had in my life, which made a huge difference in my career. One more thing I want to share with all of you is, and I always share it to my team, is give a benefit of doubt. This, I am giving you a benefit of doubt. Benefit of doubt. 2-3 words, but this is so important and this is so meaningful. You will see. If there is a conflict or something that has happened, give a benefit of doubt to the other person. He might have done it unconsciously. That he may have done it, let me give a benefit of doubt and look into patterns if it is happening in the same way again and again and again. So that way also you can anticipate conflict and you can manage conflict. Capitalize on differences. So when you have multi-generational people in your team, you have to treat their difference as their strength. Then you'll be able to manage it in an awesome way. So one of the teams, during COVID, I joined an organization, and April is when my joining date was due. While my interviews and all happened in person, by the time I joined on April 2020, the lockdown had started. So I joined the team, and I had almost 30 plus members in my team, starting from the south till Jammu. I was also heading admin, the complete HR, and I had team members who were much older to me, right? And one of them was an admin person, very senior. He was close to his retirement. And at the same time, there were other people who were very young in the team and, mid-level managers and so on. As you grow in your career, always try to understand or try to look into the strengths of your team members. What are their strengths? Because all of us are unique individuals and we have some strengths or the others. We need to capitalize on that. You have to use those strengths. For example, the one that I said, the admin person who is very senior, right? I used his skills for doing audits. I used his skill to create, SOPs and other things, which he has gained a lot due to his vast experience in his career. Address generational issues and validate differences. A lot of generational issues will come. And like I said, it may not be visible, but it's the bottom of the iceberg. So one needs to also deep dive, and as a manager, you need to also look into cues when those sparks will come out. And those sparks may result in fire if it is not taken care of. So always keep your eyes, mind open and try to figure out what is making work more, what makes work rewarding. Why that person is getting motivation or what. So that team member of mine whom I was sharing about, who was very senior, his motivation was to learn more and more and more things. He was very unique. He was even, he enrolled into all the training programs. Those were available. And he used to get a sense of motivation. And I used to say that, sir, you learn something new, create a deck and share it with all of us. We will also learn. And that used to give him more satisfaction than anything else. Which environment are most productive? These are also some things that we need to look at. When I say environment, It is more to do with your work environment. Now, the culture piece is there at an org level, but you as a manager or you as a team member, you know what is the environment which is there within your teams. Now, what I could do to ensure that we become more and more productive? What could be the environment? Is our environment that of trust? Is our environment that of mutual respect? Is our environment that of not being judgmental at work? And so on. What type of workload, schedules, and policies contribute to an attractive workplace? For example, workload, we have also seen. Some may say that 5 o'clock onwards, I would not work. I will not stay in office. I have to go back home. Great. Give them the flexibility. Say that, yes, please go back home. Take care of your priorities. But there is some important deliverable. You can work on them whenever you are free. So giving flexibility in terms of workload, schedules, and policies can contribute to an attractive workplace. And what will retain people of different needs, viewpoints, and expectations is also very important. Once you know what are the different needs, viewpoints, and expectations of other people, you may not be in a position to make all the changes, but always ensure that you share this feedback so that some changes can happen at an org level. And whatever changes you could do as a manager, you can always do. See, for example, we have a hybrid work framework at our office, right? My team, so our return to work offices, we work on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Fridays and Mondays are work from home. So that gives 4 days, long weekend kind of a feeling and more flexibility to all the people, right? So more and more, we always have to find out the different needs, viewpoints through surveys and so on and so forth. And just not getting the feedback, but seeing what we can do, convince your management, convince your manager that this may work for the larger benefit or for the larger good. So some ways in which we can still enhance synergy: appreciate, accommodate, and attitudes. So appreciation plays a major key. So you might have also read the Heinberg theory, right? The hygiene factors and all, where appreciation or recognition becomes very vital, right? Recognition has to be there. So recognition be there. What you do over here is break it down and make the recognition fungible across the multi-generational workforce that you have. I believe in instant recognition for my team, which I continuously do. I also look into an element of surprise that can happen, because when surprises are given, especially the good surprises, it creates a lot of belongingness to the organization and to the manager. The relationships further becomes more and more solid. So appreciation is there, accommodating is there, and there will be different attitudes. So we need to look into those and try to accommodate as much as possible. Cohesiveness, communication, and conformity. So to create that cohesiveness, communication becomes the key. Be as transparent as possible. So I'm telling you, team, from the last few years that I have been managing larger teams, and my average team size has been more than 30, I have always tried to be as transparent as possible to my team, and that has resulted in higher productivity and very less attrition. This is something that I'm guaranteeing you. Please try to do it, and you'll see the benefits coming out of it. The organizational culture, operating style, and openness. Now, operating style, you have to figure out what is operating style of your own. That becomes very important, because once you know it, then you can share your team saying that, okay, my style is this. For example, I have told my team that My operating style is, first thing, I don't want to see escalations. Try to give a great employee experience to all your team members, all our team members, as in all our employees. Speed, accuracy, and quality matters for me. When I see that three of these things are not there, then it becomes a challenge. When I set all these expectations from the beginning, it takes a time for the team to deliver. But after some time, it becomes a habit. So what is your operating style? Please share it with openness to your team. It is very important. Respect for competence. Each one of us brings certain value on the table. So respect that, right? Then rewards and results will definitely come out of it. So respecting competence of various people that we have goes a long way. Then non-verbal norming and nurture creativity. So nurturing creativity becomes very important. And what we can do is, you pick up any team, you'll see that there will be some people who will be really great with ideas. There will be some people in the team who will be very good in terms of execution. There will be some people in the team who would really be good when it comes to doing documentation. So how do you nurture creativity? Nurture creativity does not mean that it has only to be that idea. So encourage the team members, saying that whatever strength you have, further polish it and become a super expert in that particular strength. So these are some of the benefits of generational diversity, right? So because each generation has a different approach solving problems, this can be very beneficial when it comes to identifying potential solutions and new ways of addressing day-to-day issues. So whenever there is a problem that comes, right, what do? You take any team member and any manager. Either they will have a solution or they will do crowdsourcing. What they will do is they will ask all the team members saying that, okay, there is a challenge, and they will take perspective from each of the team members towards solving problems. They'll say, okay, this is a problem that we have in hand. Do you have any thoughts? Once you start taking thoughts, how good your thought is, if you see that any of those thoughts are really good, they have a potential to solve a problem, appreciate that and use it, execute it. That way you will see that you have given value to your team members, you have given value to that particular person whose idea you took, and you were able to solve the problems, and that will help you a lot in terms of building your credibility in the team. And you will see that a lot of these problems can be solved. You might have heard about this initiatives in many organizations where they have a millennial club. They try to get more and more feedback, or if there is a problem, they share that, and the team brainstorms and comes back with certain solutions. Each generation is very unique. By employing people from each generation, organization can better understand the different target audiences that you are trying to reach. Each generation is different, right? They are very unique, and they are getting lot of value which comes to the table. So organization can better understand that, and that actually helps a lot. And across generation, employees can teach each other new ways of approaching things and more efficient ways of doing businesses. We have learned this. Okay, a multi-generational workforce is the perfect environment for mentoring and reverse mentoring. Cool. Let me share cool examples over here. So best practices for multi-generational teams. Reward based on performance and productivity. So reward could be a RNR, could be just a pat on the back, could be your performance rating, could be your monetary reward, whatever it is, but only look into the performance and productivity. right? So reward based on this, offer training and professional development to all the different generations that you have by understanding their different needs that they have. Offer mentoring programs, right? And reverse mentoring is one of them, where you might have heard that a millennial or yeah, young crowd in the organization, they provide reverse mentoring to seniors in the organization. That's reverse mentoring. Why? And what happens in that? The seniors, they share their wisdom, the way they resolve issues to the juniors, and the juniors, they share about more about tech, what's happening in the organization in terms of what's happening in the industry in terms of new technology and so on. They share those knowledge back to the seniors. Study generational composition for HR strategies. So like I said, today, no one policy will match, or no one benefit will match, or will give you the right results for your complete workforce. McKinsey has recently published a report where they are sharing that your initiatives has to be individualized. It has to be individualized. So study the composition of your workforce, and accordingly, you create or tweak those policies and benefits to make them stay in the organization. Match the generational composition with customers, and this automatically happens. Actually, you might have seen where the sales team or the product or the scrum teams, they know, depending on the strength of every individual, they match it with the customers, right, with the clients. Offer flexible work schedules, flex time, job sharing, options for telecommuting. This is a given. This is mandatory, and one needs to follow this. Provide as much as flexibility at work. Otherwise, there is always another competitor who will provide that and take away your workforce. Build a strong workforce. After doing all this, now you'll see that your workforce will become more and more stronger. Benefits, like I have already said, continue to offer flexible benefits as much as possible. Offer health and wellness program for all generations, right? So, for example, in my previous organization, we had multiple programs. We had Zumba, we had yoga, we had everything. And we left it to the employees to choose whatever they want. Instead of saying that these either all these things are mandatory, or saying that this generation will be doing this. So always offer varieties of program, and you'll see people will feel more included and belongingness would increase. Include representative from all generations on organizational committees. This actually happens, right? But sometimes we may get biased. Please ensure that you have representative from all different generations. Then what will happen? Very cohesive workforce will happen. A lot of people will share different ideas and other things. You'll be able to either solve a problem, or you'll be able to manage things in a better way. Create common break areas to encourage informal communications and discussions with all generations. Now, in virtually, it was very difficult, but what you could do is create those training programs and ensure that some of those training programs has cross section of different generations in the workforce. And we as HR or you as a manager have to always ensure that your biases are always at bay, and there are different people working together, because when different people come together, you'll see that the solution will be more amazing than what you anticipated initially. Reward managers for retaining talented employees. Offer management and leadership training to create high performance teams with mixed generation. So I have already shared, offer management and leadership training to create this team with mixed generation. Most importantly, like I have shared earlier, start listening. Okay, give a benefit of doubt. That goes a long way. Third, Be humble as much as possible. Keep your ego at bay. Don't put your ego on the table first. Listen to everyone, right? Then these were some of the things, and this is the last slide, Tim. This is a little bit of humor. 1950 was question nothing. 1970 was question everything. 1990 was questions and questions. 2010 and onwards, it is enough questions. Because every time as I go out and meet my kids, they will have a lot of questions to ask. What happened in the session? What did you do? What did you share? And so on. So it's enough and enough, more and more of questions. So with this, I think the topic was really interesting, and I want to thank everybody for your time for joining today. I would like to take questions now. So please, if you have any questions, you can ask or share those
Sure. So
on the
before
chat
we,
window.
yes, Mr. So before we take our participants' questions, we will be initiating the poll. Request all participants to kindly share your feedback. While doing so, request all participants to kindly post their questions in the chat window. Once again, I thank all our participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the participation e-certificate offered by HREI and GMI. You can claim your e-certificate by sharing your details, name and session attended in an email to the email ID provided in the chat window. Please ensure you do this by end of the day today. We will email the e-certificates to you based on the details received. Amit, we have received some questions from the registrations. I would just like to take it up. So the first question that has come up is, how can a manager effectively manage conflict in a multi-generational workforce?
Yeah. So that is exactly what I shared during the slides. Conflict will happen, and conflicts are good. Okay, not all conflicts are bad. So embrace conflict, but at the same time, don't be a party to the conflict. That means keep your ego outside. That's number one. Keep your ego outside. Why I'm telling you this is, I know what it happens when you move into a situation. We always bring our biasness because we have grown in certain surroundings and all those things. We always get those biasness. We get influenced by it. So keep all those things away, right? And embrace everyone. When I say embrace everyone, like I said, everybody has some strength. See, today I have 18 plus years of experience, right? Now I am sharing some things with all of you. Let's say average experience over here would be some 5 to 10 years. Another 10 years down the line, I'll be 50 plus. I'll be the old one out. Hence, we are doing all these trainings to all of you so that you take care of us when you grow to our age. Right? So what I am trying to share with a bit of humor is that be as grounded as possible. Conflicts will happen. Validate facts. Don't carry your opinion or preconceived opinion. Wait, understand, analyze, be flexible as much as possible. Everybody's situation would be unique. Try to understand those and address. Maybe if you can give me a scenario and say that, Amit, this is the scenario and what could be a possible solution, I can share. Otherwise, the way I would approach is, I like conflicts. Conflicts are good because they always bring the best out of us, right? And it also deepens the relationship between individuals. That's the power of conflict. Conflict, you know, if it happens 100 out of 100 times, maybe some 10% would lead to a bad test, but 90% times conflicts will make two team members become more and more closer. Did I answer, Faizan?
Yes, absolutely. A very good answer. So the second question is how to embrace the challenges of a multi-generational workforce.
Okay. So everything starts with you. You can say that I will embrace or I will not embrace, right? Yeah. So let me share one example. And I'm being very honest over here. There was one organization where I worked and I couldn't embrace it. I left. Okay. I left the company because the gaps were just too much. I couldn't manage it. Right. It was impacting my overall thought process. I became really, really slow. I'm a very fast forward kind of moving kind of a HR. Things become very slow. It's your own call. So you want to embrace or you don't want to embrace. Similarly, when I moved to a next organization, it was really cool. I found out that my values, the organization values are similar. I found out that the leaders, they have that potential. They want to make a change in the organization and we work together. So lot of collaboration happened. So focus more on collaboration is the advice that I will give you. Once you start focusing more on collaboration, you will see that you'll start embracing a lot of things. So collaboration is the key here.
Very rightly answered. So the third question is, what leadership strategies would you recommend to effectively lead the multi-generation workforce?
Inclusive leadership. Okay. So this inclusive leadership is a very new thing. So that means you have different kind of leadership, right? You might have heard becoming a autocratic leader, servant leader, pace setting as a leadership style and all. Inclusive leadership, what happens? All these styles, you have to pick up the good ones and use it as per the context. See, there are certain times where you will have to take your team along with you. Take your team along with you. There may be times when a person is not performing or knowingly is disturbing the harmony of the team and all. Be very strict with them, right? But Amit had told not to become inclusive. Yes, you are taking your team, but at that time wear a different hat. Become a very, very strict manager. Say that, okay, this is not to be done. So the leadership style over here is inclusive leadership, where you take everybody along with you, right? And you'll see that the way you will transform into a leader, you will be surprised that you were like that. So inclusive leadership style is what I will share, Faisal.
Thank you. So followed by that, there's one more question with respect to that only, saying how do you create a multi-generational inclusive workforce?
Okay. So multi-generational workforce will automatically be created, right? Because if an organization is existing, people would have joined. Let's say you are creating a startup, okay, and you have to create a multi-generational workforce. So what will you do? You may want to pick up roles and look into those roles where you need a lot of experience. So you may pick up people from the market, from the talent available, who are pretty senior and who have a lot of experience, right? Irrespective of their age. If they have a lot of experience, age will also come, because age and experience are like brothers and sisters, right? They both will go together. So create like that. So look at a project or a team and then think who are the best possible workforce to ensure that you are able to solve a problem. See, why organizations are there? Just not to make profits. They are also here to sell solutions. They create solutions for different problems that are affecting the society or they are affecting mankind, right? So the solution building, whatever is required, do that. And that is how you can create a multi-generational workforce, depending on the experience and so on. Have you ever thought why for every opening we have a JD? We have a job description for every opening, right? Because we always want to get the right person for the right job. So once you start getting the right person for the right job, already multi-generational workforce gets created. Yeah, Faisal?
Thank you. Thank you, Amit, for answering all the questions so beautifully. And I believe there are no questions coming up from the chat window, so we can close it. So thank you, Amit, for this intriguing session. Your experiences and insight were very thought-provoking. I'm sure our participants have had a lot to learn and take away from this session. I sincerely thank Great Manager Institute for their association and support extended. This session would not have been possible without Great Manager Institute, where we are privileged to be working with them on this series. Though we all know about GMI, I would want to welcome Ojas from GMI to talk more about the institute.
Hey, hi, Ojas.
Hey, hi Amit. Hi Faisal. Thank you so much, Amit. It is always wonderful hearing you deliver. And I mean, having been associated for Great Manager Institute for such a long time now, hearing you has always left us with very valuable insights and inputs. Thank you so much to the HRI team for bringing these opportunities of interaction with leaders such as Amit to everyone in the fraternity. I do echo with a lot of what Amit spoke of today, right? I think today the belief that an employee is a resource to achieve the organization's potential has changed, right? It's increasingly becoming that the organization is a resource to achieve an employee's potential, right? And additionally, managing multi-generational teams is not something that is just restricted to strategizing at the very top level, but also needs to be implemented on ground by the managers at any organization, right? And this is just another thing that a manager has to do on top of the ever increasing list of expectations from a manager, right? We all know that being a manager isn't an easy job, but more importantly, no one ever teaches you how to be a manager. This is something that you pick off experience, that you learn from your own manager, leaders in your organization. And that's why Great Manager Institute was born with the vision of enabling people managers and giving every individual, every working individual in the country an opportunity to work with a great people manager, right? Our primary focus over the past 4 or 5 years has been people manager enablement by assessing people managers and creating meaningful developmental journeys for them on identified areas of focus while simultaneously taking a joint accountability for positively impacting business metrics such as attrition, productivity, um, or employee experience, for example, because these are all metrics that are inevitably driven by people managers, right? I know we've already busted our time limit, so I do not want to keep everyone waiting, but more than happy to connect with anyone here who would be interested in exploring, such kind of developmental journey for managers at their organizations and creating an impact at a very grassroots level in terms of culture and in terms of business. But once again, thank you so much, Amit. Thank you so much, Faisal and the entire HR team for bringing this for all of us. It's always a pleasure interacting with you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Ojas, for letting us know about Great Manager Institute. And thanks for the benefits extended to the HRA members. Thank you so much once again, Amit, for this beautiful session. We would love to host you again very soon. Thank you. Also would like to thank all our participants for joining us today. Do join us for our next masterclass by Mr. Tanmoy Datta, AVP Business Excellence Vertex Group on 28th of December 2022. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now. Thank you, Amit.
Bye, team.